17 million Americans right now are jobless and the Fed is going for broke. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I'm going to talk about this first. I think it's a really big issue, obviously. Then I'm going to add the data that was actually left over from yesterday's video. So much good content in here. I need to get to all of it as quick as possible. Let's begin. 16.8 million Americans thrown out of work as economic toll rises. I've got some charts to show you. I'm sure you've already seen this in the news. I'm going to give you only the important points here. 3-week aggregate initial jobless claims. If you look at the right-hand side, that straight line upward is the most extreme example we have ever seen in history. This chart goes back to 1967, and we have never seen anything like this before. Usually we get this gradual rise and then a gradual fall, but this time around it has been this massive shock. If we were to exclude 2020 from the equation and we looked at this chart, you would see that it would be up and down depending on the conditions. However, right now it is something of a historic sense because you could see it is a spike upward and we're expecting more. So every week we're going to see these numbers come out. It's going to look terrible. Along with the stock market, they're both heading higher. Here are the continuing jobless claims. They have now exceeded what we saw during the financial crisis. This shouldn't surprise anybody because it has been one heck of a shock. There are some numbers here that go along with this, and you've probably seen them in the news already. I'm going to cover some of those today. I have a lot to show you, but I just wanted to give you a real sense of what's happening. The average individual, they cannot necessarily determine what's going on with all of the intricacies of the financial markets. They're just trying to do their own work. They're trying to take care of their families and so on. When we look at the Google Trend searches, that's going to give us some insight as to what real people are thinking. Google Trend searches suggest upside risk to claims. And on the left-hand side, the green line there, that's the initial jobless claims, and they've been climbing, as you can see. However, Google Trends for unemployment benefits and Google Trends for filing for unemployment have spiked along with it. And that should be something we should be taking in and realizing how important of a tool this is, because that gives us a look at what people are actually thinking. On the right-hand side, you could definitely see how these have matched each other throughout the last financial crisis. And as conditions have been easing and everything's been totally fine, supposedly, these all come down together. Now take a look at all this other information I have for you. Check it out. The Senate's plan to save small businesses is already failing, and the little munchkin just made it worse. If you want to read the article, please, by all means, go ahead. I just think it's funny because the way that they name all these bills, oh, it's the CARES Act. So if you don't sign it, Mr. Congressman, then you don't care. It's a joke. They always do this every single time. The bill is 900 pages, and you got to sign it in a 20-minute period. Nobody's reading the damn thing anyway. They stick in these things that have nothing to do with it at all, but they know nobody's going to read it. And if they don't sign on that, then you're a bad person, so they do it anyway. This is happening 100% of the time. They do this. They have made this very clear in the past from some individuals that actually do care about what's happening. If people don't get that this is always to enrich the globalist elite, then they're just fooling themselves. People, they see the suits and ties and they get fooled. New survey findings released from the Mortgage Bankers Association highlight the unprecedented widespread mortgage forbearance already requested by borrowers affected by the situation happening today. The total number of loans in forbearance grew from 0.25% to 2.66% from March to April. Imagine this has only just begun. People are getting laid off, but of course the numbers are always delayed. So when we hear about something, that's actually what occurred a month ago, or let's say a quarter ago. It depends on the stat, but this is what's going on. Even if the entire economy opened up today and that's it, we were done with all of the closures, let's get it all opened, this is going to have a serious impact on everybody as it stands, because people have been using debt. They've been extremely risky in what they've done, and we're going to see what's happening with this in the coming weeks, in the coming months. JP Morgan temporarily halts small business loans outside of the federal scheme. They were inundated with more than 375,000 requests for $40 billion of loans under the small business scheme. This is when you know you've got a serious problem. Airlines to cut summer flights up to 90% with rebound remote. The airlines have a serious issue today, and I wanted to present you just one fact that I thought was interesting. Air Canada, for instance, is actually hiring some of the people that they had laid off back. Now, why are they doing this? Because they got some stimulus from the government, so they're doing this. Now, they can allow their workers to continue working. There's just a problem. They're going to be sitting around, twiddling their thumbs while they wait for something kind of important, and that is the passengers on these flights. So they're going to be doing nothing whatsoever, just sitting around so that they can continue working. They're getting paid to do very, very little, perhaps nothing. This is the messed up system that we live in, where the taxpayer here has to give their tax money to the government. The government then funnels it around their system, and they think that Air Canada deserves that money, so they're going to give it to Air Canada, who then give it to their employees. Now, these employees, of course, they're potentially hardworking people. They didn't deserve to get laid off, but that's the situation. That's how it works. They are also taxpayers, so they give money to themselves in a way. But as I showed you previously, the airlines are benefiting from all this. The banks are benefiting from all of this. And the average tax-paying individual is just getting screwed over. I thought this was incredible. Jim Kramer says he and hedge fund billionaire David Pepper are confused by the market's recent rally. I spoke to David Pepper yesterday, and we were both kind of marveling. Geez, it's been bullish. Why? There's a curious disconnect between when you speak to the companies, most of which are closed, and what's going on in the market. There's this optimism that, don't worry, everything's going to be just fine. There's a glimmer of hope, and we keep getting these terrible numbers that are coming out everywhere with the situation that's going on, with the economy, everything. But don't worry, keep your fingers crossed, everything's going to be A-okay. Northman Trader had this to say: January Wall Street Journal survey, 100% expect no recession in 2020. My, how quickly things change. That's all for this video. If you found that informative, hit that thumbs up button. When you do, you're supporting me, so I want to thank you for that. Only about 10% of people do, so I just want to say thank you for this. If you are somebody that donates to me, I really want to extend a thank you also. It really means a lot, whether that's coming through PayPal or Patreon or the Brave or any other form. Thank you. If you want to see me on Instagram, on Twitter, or on any other platform, I'm there. Just search The Money GPS and you'll find me.